Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve, and today is part 10.3 on building Aurora. Okay, and in particular, the Milwaukee Brewery by Walthers. So let's go to the bench, take a look, and I must admit, I recorded this all before and there was no sound, so we're doing it over, even though much of the work has already been done. But I'll go ahead and explain it in each shot. All right, so to the bench. Okay, so the first thing we have to do, or had to do, was on this panel here. The team track in Aurora, and I'll show it here in a second, sits 2 stories lower than the street of Aurora, which is above the actual staging yard. It hides the staging yard, okay? And so the team track side of the building had to drop down 2 floors, which means I have to add 2 floors, all right, for that side of the building, because this is down a level now. So what I did was I bought some Walthers brick sheets. I think this pack of 6 was $10, which is much cheaper than going through Plastruck or Evergreen. And I'm not worried about the color since it all gets repainted anyway. So, and because it's too long, it's longer than a single sheet, I had to splice together. Okay, so that's what that is. And I had to file, taking the little cornices areas off here. Some of the leftover, I cut strips to match these brick columns coming up. I also put a splice panel in here and here. This splice panel came on the sheet. I left the decorative cornice here. I cut the windows out. I went to my parts bin and had a bunch of extra windows. So I decided on this style. Drilled 4 holes in each of the windows corners. All right. Used the knife and cut them out. Okay. And which I'll show here in a bit. And then added, you may recall I had some strip styrene from Evergreen 1x4 that I used on the icing platform roof. I cut some strips of those to put in the windowsills. And you may notice some white along here. I put in white cornices and I really didn't like the look, so I got rid of those. All right. So this panel now is ready to go. It's ready for assembly other than being painted. Okay, so we get it out of the way. The next thing was this panel here. Okay. It had to be truncated off to pull the building forward. Now keep in mind the team track wall originally went here. Now it's dropped down to here, and that red brick panel is up at this height. But I need to pull the building back so I have enough room on the back side for the street and the tracks that run down the center of the street. So I've truncated this section off. Okay, poof, gone. Now I have to truncate off the equal amount on the other side. All right. Well, the other wall, the opposite wall panel, is actually 2 panels, with one being part of the tower, which is a no-go as far as modifying. So I had to, out of this panel, I had to take off the same amount as I took off the other opposite wall. Now, I couldn't go taking it off of this side because that would make the truncation line right down through the center of the window and door. So the only option was to take it off the other side. And after measuring, remeasuring, and re-remeasuring, I went ahead using the razor saw, all right, and cut that off. Okay? So now I have 2 extra walls, which will make for another nice structure somewhere. And so it's ready to go. I'm all ready for assembly now, and I'll let you go through and take a look at the non-sound files of me actually doing what I've just described. But let's go over to Aurora. All right, so here we are at Aurora, and I've got the panel here. Now this building will actually go over here, okay? But for right now, we're going to use this blank area. As you look, the building sits up here, but I need fascia down on the team track. So the original panel with the loading dock and doors gets dropped down to the team track level, and that's why this extra panel has been added here. Okay? And you can get a feel for the depth. This building's not going to fit back there. Truncating off those 2 sections I've shown will bring the building back to about here-ish, which allows for the team track, not the team track, the street track back there. All right, hope that makes some sense. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a video of what I did and how I modified all these pieces. And I'll run through it pretty quick. All right, stay tuned. All right, so previously, I truncated this panel and used the razor saw to cut this section off. And I explained earlier, but it's to pull the building forward towards the team track a little bit more to add extra clearance on the back side of the building for the track that runs down the center of the road. All right, so, all right, if this was the south side panel, I would have to do the same thing to the north side panel, taking off this same amount. Well, the north side, or the other side, is two different panels. Okay, one is part of the tower, so I can't remove any of that. All right, so here's the other, right here. Now, using the razor saw, okay, I have taken the same amount off this section here. Okay, so these two go in the spare bits bin, leaving me with this that will connect to the other piece for that side of the building. And I cut it a little bit long, all right, or a little bit too wide. And I can always sand or file it down here, but I'd rather have it a little too much than a little too little. And I only had the option of one side. If you think that's too close to the windows, and while it may be, the situation is if I took the same amount, this panel was still intact, and I took this amount off of the other side, all right, you see how it goes right down through the window and door. So that wasn't going to work. I had to work with this side. All right, make sense? All right, so that concludes our truncation. All right, we truncated the, let's call it the south side. We truncated the north side. And we truncated, well, we added the panel, all right, to the team track side. Since this section, the rest of the building sits at this level. But since the team track is 2 stories down, we moved the floor section down and we added this panel here. And we already went through how I constructed that. Okay? So, with that, all right, we conclude this section of Building Aurora 10.3, and we're now ready to begin Building Aurora 10.4. Okay? And that will entail actually starting to put some of these pieces together. Although I may go ahead and paint that red brick into the cream color to semi-match, at least at this point. With that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad. Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.